Bruno.
Thanks, Jonathan. And I mean, the report, I assume everybody was able to read. I'm going to probably give more up-to-date information as things are evolving very quickly in the trust. The COVID-19 infection rates are going up significantly, also in our region. And today, the trust has almost 300 COVID-19 patients in the trust, which is more than double the peak of the first wave. The peak of the first wave, we had about 140 patients in the trust at the peak. So our peak in the second wave is already double the number of patients than we had in the first wave, and we're not at the peak yet. So it's still going up. So we're extremely focused on making sure that we have sufficient capacity to admit patients that need to be admitted, to receive oxygen. And we have sort of level 1, level 2, level 3 types of care, and we need to make sure that we have capacity for all of those patients. On the more positive side, thanks to some of the advances.
Bruno, I wonder, given that this is a public meeting, I wonder if a quick explanation of level 1, 2 and 3 care would be helpful for those watching.
Yeah, it's different levels of oxygen that is given to the patients. Level 3 is actually in critical care, and patients are being intubated and mechanically ventilated. So that's level 3. And the good news is that because of the advances in therapy, we see that less patients need to be admitted to level 3 than in the first wave. It's about half of it. So in the first wave, we admitted about 10% of the patients in the hospital to the level 3 care units. And in the second wave, it's less than 5%. So it's double the number of patients, but half of the percentage that needs to be admitted to level 3. Level 2 is non-invasive ventilation, and level 1 is oxygen supply, but not with normal oxygen flow. So those are the levels. Clearly, this has an impact on other patient care. We've cancelled the routine electives, as we did in the first wave, again in the second wave. And we're having to redeploy quite a lot of staff to be able to take care of these rising number of COVID-19 patients. And we also have increasing absence of staff because they're taken out by the infection, or they have to self-isolate because of a high-risk contact. So we're in a very difficult place, Jonathan, and my biggest concern is to have sufficient capacity, but also to make sure that we make this feasible for staff, because it's extremely pressured, and it's relentless, because we've had maybe a bit of breathing space over the summer of last year, but after the summer, we basically had already the first signs of the second wave, and it's the staff well-being is probably the biggest concern that we have. On the more positive side, if I can share some hope going forward, you already mentioned the Pfizer and the Oxford vaccinations that have started. We have vaccinated almost 6,000 our members, and that's increasing every day. And clearly, vaccinations will help us to protect staff members, but also the patients at risk for a hospitalization. So once the mass vaccination campaign gets rolled out, we will see an impact on the admissions and also on the staff absence. But we're still a few weeks away from that point. So we're trying to really be responsive to support staff in these difficult days and weeks. The extra leave day, which the board approved before Christmas, was very well received. It's also mentioned in the chief executive update. We should also acknowledge some of the great work that we're doing. Even the Queen has noticed and given some awards to staff, but we also need to constantly appreciate what people are doing and the amazing stuff that's being realized. And I think the Chief Executive Report is full of some of those achievements. Just to pick one that isn't listed in it, but as we have more COVID-19 patients, we also are able to recruit more patients into the clinical trials for the COVID-19 response. And we're doing extremely well nationally in terms of recruitment into those trials. A very important one is the recovery trial, which we have been using to identify which treatments work or don't work, and that led to the use of cortisone, which we talked about last year. It also led to the use of the interleukin-6 antibodies, again, which now have been approved. And I'm proud to say that 1 out of 5 patients admitted into the trust with COVID-19 are enrolled into the recovery trial, which is double the target of the National Institute of Health Research. So despite all of the pressures and the very difficult time that we all have, whether we're residents, patients, or staff in the trust, it's difficult for all of us. I'm very proud that we're able to take care in an excellent way of the COVID-19 patients and be able to contribute to a response which hopefully will avoid us to have a third wave, assuming that we can come out of lockdown with a mass vaccination that will have vaccinated 15 million people in the UK.